8.
Launch auto sequence has
7,
started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed.
Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Hello and welcome to our 10th Starlink launch of the year and 44th Starlink mission overall. My name is Jesse Anderson. I'm a production and engineering manager here at SpaceX, and I'll be your host today as we follow Falcon 9's launch from Florida's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Space Launch Complex 40, about 8 minutes from now. Starlink is a satellite internet constellation designed and manufactured by SpaceX. It provides high-speed, low-latency internet to people living in remote and rural locations around the globe. Starlink is currently servicing 34 markets, and we recently went live in Latvia, with more markets being added soon. Our launch today will be taking 53 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit, or also referred to as LEO. Now, we've got one of our shorter webcasts today, with live coverage ending just after first stage landing and second stage engine cutoff. Payload deploy is scheduled to occur about T+1 hour after liftoff, and we will confirm deployment of our Starlink satellites via SpaceX's social channels, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. If for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity on Saturday, April 30th at 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, the vehicle that you see on your screen is our Falcon 9 rocket, and the Starlink satellites are housed at the very top of the rocket in a structure known as the fairing. And there you can see the fairing on your screen. The job of the fairing is to protect the Starlink satellites until we reach the vacuum of space. At that point, we will jettison the fairing halves and attempt to retrieve them once they return back down to Earth. The fairing halves protecting our Starlink satellites today are flying for the second time. And if you're familiar with SpaceX, you know that... If you're familiar with SpaceX, you know that reusability is one of our top priorities, as it is key to reducing the cost of space access for all of us. Falcon 9 is the only orbital class rocket in the world capable of reuse, which means that it's the only rocket that can boost its payload to orbit and then come back down to Earth to be flown again. Now, the part of the rocket that's responsible for powering these repeat trips to space is called the first stage, and it's the bottom portion of the vehicle that you see on your screen. The dark soot that you might be able to see around the base of the vehicle are remnants from its previous launches. This particular booster has supported 5 previous missions. GPS-3
Stage 1, RP1 load is complete.
GPS-3 Space Vehicle 4 and 5, Inspiration 4, a Starlink mission, and most recently AX-1 or Axiom-1, which just launched 3 weeks ago. In fact, the booster that you see on your screen had the fastest turnaround time to date. The AX-1 mission launched on April 8th, so it only took the teams 9 days to refurbish, and today marks 21 days to get it back to the launch pad to support today's mission. That's a great milestone for our teams, as it brings us one step closer to providing fast and reliable access to space for all. Now, the number 9 in Falcon 9 references the 9 engines on the first stage. There's actually 10 engines on the vehicle overall. The 10th engine powers the second stage, which is the portion of the rocket that you see on your screen at the very top of the rocket below the fairing. Now, while the first stage powers us out of Earth's atmosphere and into space, the second stage takes the satellites to their targeted drop-off orbit. After the first and second stages separate, the second stage will ignite its single Merlin vacuum engine and carry our satellites to low Earth orbit. Though very similar to the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage, the Merlin vacuum engine has a larger nozzle that allows the second stage to perform better in the...
Tanks are pressing for strong back retract.
Allows the MVAC engine to perform better in the vacuum of space. Now, following separation of the second stage, we will be attempting to recover the first stage for a 6th time on our drone ship. Just read the instructions and you can see that there live on your screen.
Strong back lower has started.
And if successful, it will mark the 117th recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage. Now we are coming up upon the TE retraction, and to do so, the clamp arms need to open, and you can see on your screen those clamp arms just below the fairing are opening up. Once they're fully open, the transport erector will start to move slightly away from the vehicle and clear its way for liftoff. If you've been following along, you know that we've had a pretty busy week here at SpaceX. On Sunday, the first ever private astronaut mission to the International Space Station undocked from the floating laboratory and safely splashed down the following day in the Atlantic Ocean. After 17 days in space, here you can see the Axiom astronauts taking their first breaths of fresh air in more than 2 weeks. Here you can see Commander Michael Lopez Alegria, pilot Larry Connor, and mission specialist Mark Pathy and Eitan Stiba. Then early Wednesday morning, SpaceX launched Crew 4, carrying NASA astronauts Kjell Lindgren, Bob Hines, Jessica Watkins, and ESA astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti to the International Space Station. It took the crew about 16 hours after liftoff to reach their destination.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And along the way, they took a moment to have some fun and give us a little tour around the Dragon spacecraft. And we're not done yet. With Crew 4's arrival to station, Crew 3 is now preparing to return back to Earth after their long-duration stay aboard the International Space Station. So stay tuned for more on that. And this has also been a great week for anyone who's ever had a bad Wi-Fi experience on a plane, as Starlink is now coming to air travel. JSX, a regional air carrier in the continental United States, and Hawaiian Airlines have both selected Starlink as their in-flight internet provider. And both airlines will make Starlink service available to every passenger without complicated login or payment screens, so that when customers get on the plane, the internet just works. So that's very exciting. But with just a couple minutes left to go, Falcon 9 is moving into the final stages of the countdown. And we already heard LOX load complete on the first stage. We are awaiting completion of LOX load on the second stage here.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Great news, that's that call out. What that means is now prop load is complete on Falcon 9 and ready for T0 today. We'll start to vent out. Start to vent out the liquid oxygen lines on the transporter erector, so you can see those white clouds there on your screen. And then at the T-1 minute mark, the Falcon 9 flight computers will take over the launch countdown. And we should hear that call out here shortly. And great weather over there at the Cape. This is great, a great day for
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And great news. It's a great day for a launch. Falcon 9 is now in startup. We are now just waiting for the final go from the launch director.
Falcon 9, Starlink 416, LD is go for launch.
And great news, we are go for launch.
30 seconds.
Now with all systems go, let's watch as Falcon 9 takes our 53 Starlink satellites into orbit.
$15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Lift off of Starlink. Go Falcon. Go Starlink 416. Vehicle is pitching downrange. MWD chamber pressure is nominal. Falcon 9
has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40, carrying our 53 Starlink satellites. Now, although at liftoff gravity is pulling the vehicle straight down, as we ascend, we tilt the engines.
Power and telemetry nominal.
And tilting those engines is called gimbaling. That turns the rocket horizontally, and you can kind of see that there on your screen. So we are still going up, but we're also heading horizontally away from the launch pad. And that is what we call a gravity turn. And we are coming up on max Q here in a few seconds.
Max Q.
And there's that call out that we've just passed through max Q. Now that's the largest structural load that the vehicle sees on ascent, and we have passed through it. So next up will be a series of events. First will be MECO, or main engine cutoff, and that's where all 9 of the Merlin engines will shut down, and that slows the vehicle down in preparation for the second milestone, which
Start
is
of MVAC engine chill.
the second milestone will be stage separation. That's where the first and second stage separate from each other. First stage will start to make its way back to Earth, and the second stage will continue on its journey with
Vehicle is following a nominal trajectory.
SES-1, or second stage engine startup 1. And that's where the single Merlin vacuum engine will light up and propel the second stage along with the Starlink satellites to orbit. We've got some awesome views watching Falcon 9 on ascent. We're just about 15 seconds away from those 3 events: MECO, stage separation, and SES-1. Just about 10 seconds or so after SES-1, we should also see the fairing halves jettison from the second stage.
Main engine cut off. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition. Fairing separation confirmed.
And some incredible views there. We just had MECO stage separation. You can see those fairing halves on your right-hand screen
Both
falling back to
following
Earth.
nominal trajectories.
And got some nominal call-outs. The MVAC engine lit up on the second stage. The first stage grid fins have deployed. So on your left-hand screen, you're looking at a view from the first stage. On your right-hand screen, you're looking at a view of the MVAC engine on the second stage. While that second stage is doing its job, that first stage is coming back home to Earth, and it'll execute 2 burns to get back home. First is the entry burn, and that's where 3 of the 9 M1D engines reignite, and that helps to slow the stage down as it's entering back into the denser part of the Earth's atmosphere. Then the atmosphere actually helps to scrub a lot of the velocity of the vehicle until the second and final burn, which is the landing burn. That's a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to touch down on the drone ship.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
And again, today we will be attempting to land on Just Read the Instructions. And each one of these M1D engines is about 190,000 pounds of thrust. So we do only use 1 engine for that final landing burn to touch down on our drone ship. And the drone ship, just for size, is about equivalent to
Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
it's equivalent to the size of a football field, so it's pretty large. We're just a couple minutes away from the entry burn starting up on the first stage. First stage also has 4 landing legs made of carbon fiber aluminum honeycomb, and they're placed symmetrically around the Falcon 9 vehicle and stowed at the base of the vehicle. They just deploy just right before the vehicle touches down. Got some great views here. Again, on your left-hand screen is a view looking aft, now looking forward of the first stage. And on your right-hand screen, a view of the second stage. Again, looking at the MVAC engine, but we got a great view of the Earth in the background of both of these views. Again, today we are carrying our Starlink satellites to their drop-off orbit. And on your left-hand screen, you might see some white puffs there. There you go. Those are nitrogen gas puffs. Those help with attitude control, as well as the grid fins helping to guide the vehicle back to the landing zone. Everything's still looking nominal. Stage 2 on a nominal trajectory.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
And on your left-hand screen, you can see those engines reigniting. This burn will last about 20 seconds long. This is the entry burn for the first stage.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
And as you saw, those engines shut down. That concludes the entry burn.
Both vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
And just the callouts that we want to hear, everything is still looking nominal for both vehicles. Now we are just about a minute away from the landing burn beginning on the first stage. Again, as I mentioned, the atmosphere helps to scrub a lot of the velocity as first stage makes its way back to the landing zone after the entry burn has concluded. And we got a great view here of the second stage. And I mentioned that soot earlier on the first stage. As you saw, the vehicle,
Stage 1 transonic.
the first stage vehicle actually enters back into the Earth's atmosphere with the engines first, so it is flying through its own plume. And the fuel for Falcon 9 is a kerosene, which is carbon-based, and that's what creates that soot onto the vehicle. We are coming up on the landing burn here for
Stage
first
1
stage.
landing burn.
Great timing. Landing burn has begun. Again, this will also last about 20 seconds, and we should see the landing legs deploy just before touchdown, and some great views here.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Incredible views. Falcon 9 has landed on our drone ship just per the instructions. What an incredible landing. This marks the 117th recovery of a first stage booster. And we are coming up on SECO, which is second stage engine cutoff 1 in a few seconds
Second
here.
engine cutoff. Nominal parking orbit.
And great callouts. We just had SECO 1, that's second stage engine cutoff 1, with a confirmation of good orbit. So with that successful confirmation of second stage engine cutoff and a good orbit, we will be ending our webcast for today's launch. Now, as mentioned previously, we will be confirming payload deploy via our social channels, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you to the Federal Aviation Administration for supporting our mission today. And of course, thank you to all of our viewers and all of our Starlink customers using our service at this time. Keep an eye out on our social channels for the latest SpaceX news, and we'll see you next time.